A warm welcome to Aviation this week on Channels Television. I'm Bukola Joe Oketumbi. 23 countries, including Nigeria, are part of the dawn of the Single African Air Transport Market SAATM that was launched in Ethiopia just recently. Built on the tenets of the 19-year-old Yamoussoukro decision, the launch of SAATM is expected to spur more opportunities to promote trade, cross-border investment in the production and service industries, including tourism. Just how prepared or unprepared are Nigerian carriers? That's our subject on the program. And Medview Airline reorganizes its international operations in the face of recent challenges. That's a sneak preview. Our background report is next.
This is a session at the 30th Africa Union Summit. It's also the formal launch of a single African air transport market at the headquarters of the Pan-African bloc in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. The president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, who is now the AU's chairperson, makes the announcement.
This is a major step forward for transportation. We are nearly ready to adopt the Continental Free Trade Area.
Kagame says the launch of the air transport market will gain almost 300,000 direct jobs and millions of indirect jobs. Of the 55 members of the AU, 23 countries have signed relevant documents to construct the market. The Single African Air Transport Market is a flagship project of the African Union Agenda 2063, an initiative of the AU to create a single unified air transport market in Africa in line with the Yamoussoukro decision of 1999, which includes the relaxation of non-physical barriers to the movement of persons, goods and services. Before the launch, the African Civil Aviation Commission was in Lagos to sell the agenda.
If the Ethiopian airlines of this world wake up and recognize the advantages that can accrue to them, why can't our own airlines wake up and recognize those advantages and take, and really take advantage? We're very laid back. We have the largest market. They just want to come and steal from our market. They just want to do this, they want to do that. Well, if I were on the other side, I definitely would do the same. If you are sitting down there, you don't recognize the assets that you have, I will come from outside and utilize the assets that you have. And that is exactly what is happening. So, African airlines, wake up.
This policy is expected to lead to catalytic benefits to every other sector, such as increased choice of carriers, convenience and ease of travel, better connectivity and time saving. But there are issues to be resolved if the implementation will be smooth.
What percentage of equity is allowed a foreign investor, maybe an airline, maybe not an airline, a foreign investor in an airline in Africa, to enable to make sure that that airline qualifies as African airline to exploit the open skies? I say this because in our open skies with the US, they stated clearly that management and control equity should be Nigerian, to the extent that the substantial equity majority will be Nigerian. But when we started, when India Wisdom, they started Virgin Nigeria, Branson and the rest, they were giving 51% and 49% for Nigeria, as we were told. Management was in their hands. And so when we tried to fly to the US, they looked at the Open Skies Agreement and said, sorry, you are not meeting the condition. We cannot allow any person coming from outside with that substantial equity to utilize the Open Skies Agreement. So they did not allow Virgin Nigeria to fly into the US.
Stakeholders do not attend meetings, so you can't know what is going on. That is what happens. Because other people attend AFRA meetings, they're able to keep track, keep record of what is going on.
Other expected benefits are more commercial freedom to wider route network, more frequencies, economies of scale and density, better aircraft utilization, flexibility and reduced cost of operations, which for some is a welcome development.
This will help to promote the African Union's objectives and goals of regional integration, prosperity, and unity across Africa. And Nigeria has a critical role to play in ensuring this. First of all, our geographical location is really advantageous for penetrating Africa as a continent. And Nigerian carriers stand to benefit a lot from the YD. There are a lot of benefits there so that Nigerian carriers can also play their part in connecting Africa properly.
Statistics from the African Union Civil Aviation Commission show that 63.5 million international tourists were recorded on the continent, and the 23 countries already signed on the treaty accounted for over 54% of international visitors. This means the number of countries that have signed the solemn commitment offer significant single air transport market space in terms of traffic volumes and airport infrastructure.
Just like Nigeria is one market, Africa becomes one market. What does that mean? That means I can fly Lagos to Johannesburg, if possible, without visa, which is what the governments are looking at. The various governments are looking at that, or visa upon entry. That is already happening in Kenya. It's happening in Addis Ababa. And I think it's happening now in Nigeria partially. All right? The issues of visa regimes will be relaxed because we're looking at one market. And once you have greater connectivity, that leads to greater prosperity and prosperity. Wealth creation is going to come in. Let me tell you, it is those of us who are Nigerians who we take our country for granted. We think it is so easy to come to Nigeria. Nigeria's visa is as difficult as American visa. For people to come to this country, it's so tough. About 2, 3, 4 years ago, a business partner was coming from Dubai to have a meeting with me in Nigeria. We started processing the Nigerian visa. After about 12, 13 days or so, it didn't succeed. And we've been talking. We needed to set face to face and execute contracts. When the visa did not come through on time, it wasn't denied, but it didn't come through on time, the fellow had to say, well, can we meet in Ghana? And in 24 hours, he got visa to Ghana. And of course, I don't need visa to Ghana because of ECOWAS treaty. So I flew to Ghana, met him, did our business one day, and the guy returned back. All right? That is a sample of what we're about to enjoy in single air travel market for Africa. The Nigerian airlines cannot get strong with all the myriads of problems. So they want all those problems to get out of the way before the opportunity gets opened. So the challenge goes to two, our operators and our government. Because the market will open, the number one beneficiary of that should be Nigeria. But if your players are not ready, how? They are weak, they are disunited, they are killing one another rather than cooperate. Therefore, they remain weak. As you open up the market, the stronger players will dominate you. And there's no going back, unfortunately, for AON. Nigeria, as a government, has signed the African Union understanding for open market. All the strong players in Africa, the countries and their airlines have signed. I can mention some of the airlines. I have it somewhere. Ethiopian Airlines has signed. South African Express have signed. Kenya has signed. If Nigeria is not ready to parade a strong carrier, those players that are already delivering 70 to 75% of the business will take the business. The Nigerian airlines have to be in IATA and be in the clearing house so that they will pay when dues fall. When their dues fall, they must pay regularly, pay all their bills to all the service providers, maintain responsible slots. So financially, you need airlines that are financially strong. You need airlines whose schedules are reliable. You need airlines with plenty of aeroplane, 40, 50. And that's why we in Aviation Roundtable, we're trying to say, why don't you look at the possibility of all of you, 40 in NCAA register, 40 aircraft belonging to 8 airlines. Why don't you find a way of put yourself together as Nigeria 1, Nigeria 2, Nigeria 3, pull those resources together, buy fuel together, derive volume economies of scale, negotiate insurance together. And so you move together 2, 3 Nigerian airlines if you want to be an international operator because you don't want to disgrace the flag. Every